What?
Specifically turning obstacles into stepping stones. And so we're going to talk through a few things, specifically 5 things you can do to improve your resilience. The first part, though, that I'm going to start with is, why is mental resilience important? What do you think, love?
Whew. If you're not mentally resilient, I don't think you're going to get out of this thing alive. Mental resilience, why is it important? Well, let's talk about when you aren't mentally resilient. You let the world and life kind of get the best of you and bring you down, right? And there's a lot of feedback on your end, by the way. I'm not sure. I can hear myself through your computer. There we go. Thanks. Um, Mental resilience. Well, if we think about what we want to make of this day or this life or relationship or career, whatever it is that you're focused on, you think about what it is that you want to get out of it. The only way we're going to actually achieve our goals, our outcome, is if we are mentally and emotionally resilient in the process, because we don't have control of everything. There are going to be some setbacks. There are going to be some things that happen along the way. And if we let that one hurdle or obstacle knock us down, we're not going to be able to get there. And it's so critically important to and it's also a confidence building thing, right? So when you face that obstacle, if you just let it knock you down and out from your outcome because you haven't built up that mental and emotional resilience in yourself, it's also going to cost you your confidence in that area. So the more we build our resilience, the more we're also able to build our confidence by experiencing obstacles or challenges throughout life and reminding ourselves of what's possible, what we're capable of. And even if we don't feel like we are in that moment, trying it out and seeing it actually wasn't that bad after all. I can do hard things. I can get pushback or setback and still get back up again and go after it. Even when we're not successful, but we showed up for ourselves and reminded ourselves that we don't just have to fall back and let go of our goals with every little setback. We actually can just get up and try again and again and again. And one time we're going to be successful. And every time we stand up and go in the direction of our dreams, it builds our confidence and it builds our resilience, because you know what? I've been through tough times. I handled it. Maybe it was uncomfortable throughout it, but I was able to do it. I went through it. I can do it again. And from that experience, we can also take the lessons from it and do it better next time, right? We've always said in our business, thank goodness it is as good as it is. And I'm so grateful for the work that we do. But we always say, like, if one day, whatever we're doing in life, right? If one day that just became absolutely illegal, we weren't allowed to do it ever again, how would we feel? What would we do? And like, we just start over again. No big deal, because we've done it before. We've worked through the kinks and the problems and the obstacles. And once you've done that and you've shown up for yourself, for your mission, your dreams, your soul's calling, once you've done that and you've worked through the obstacles along the way, the next time you're ready to do it, so maybe we had to switch an industry or go somewhere else and we weren't allowed to do coaching anymore, whatever it is, we've learned so much from that experience that we're going to inevitably do better next time, right? And I think that's the beauty of becoming resilient. That's the beauty of using resilience actually as your fuel and your driver. And when you can focus on how you can become more mentally resilient, it boosts your confidence, it boosts your results, it boosts your performance, it elevates those around you too. You become this inspiration, this beacon of light of what's possible, because you didn't just give up, right? And you remind people that giving up is a choice. And maybe it's the easy way out, but I would challenge you to the fact that it's not the easy way out. Like, showing up and choosing to be resilient and work through a hard time or a challenging situation, though in the moment it feels harder, versus just kind of giving up, living with your giving upness you're backing down, that not giving it your all, that is harder because that's what you have to live with, right? Instead of actually going after it and proving to yourself what's possible, what you're capable of, and actually using your power inside of you to persevere. I'm going to stop there. Sorry, it's kind of a tangent.
Powerful. Powerful. One of the strongest I've heard in a
I
while.
love resilience. I could talk forever about it, but back to, what are your thoughts? Why is it important?
I was just talking to a client about this on a coaching call, and I my belief is, my hope is that people are actually doing what they've always dreamed of doing in their life.
Mhm.
And so I have this weird, I could call it a judgment, where when I meet people and I talk to them and I'm like, how's life? And they go, it's okay. What are you working on? And they're like, yeah, no, same old stuff, just doing what I have to do. There's a part of me that feels like they gave up on themselves. They gave up on the thing that they would have wanted to do. They gave up on thinking it was even possible. Or maybe it's possible, but just not for them. Or maybe it's possible for them, and life just kind of isn't allowing them to go after it right now for some reason. And I don't know what that thing is, but there's a part in me that looks at that person and is like, wow, that sucks. Like, to have the opportunity, one, to know what you want. That's kind of the first step. Most people, you know, some things are exciting or some things are interesting, but rarely are they deeply passionate about something. They wake up and they have trouble sleeping because they're so excited about having the opportunity to get up and go after it, or get up and participate, or get up and play a role in whatever it is that they're really, really connected to. And so, with resilience, one thing that helps is when you're extremely clear on what you actually want. Like, on what you want to achieve or experience, or what you want to give to life, or the way that you want to support and care for the people around you, but you're so clear on what you want that it's compelling, it's inspiring, it's exciting. That's step one. The second part is then you're actually making progress towards it. So there, if you're clear on what you want, and you did the work and you spent time. And I was talking to someone the other day, in Australia, there's a term called a walkabout, where you go spend time trying to get clear on what you really want. And in American Indian tribes, it was called a vision quest, where you go sit and have stillness. Cal Newport wrote about this in his book. It's called Deep Work, where you sit and you're still and you listen. You get clarity on what you really, really want. You get clarity on what that vision looks like. You do a vision casting process. Once you have that extreme clarity, then the next part is, how do we make progress? How are we actually going to get closer to that dream? Because sometimes we come up with a dream that's so exciting and so compelling and so just you think about it and it blows your mind to think, wow, that would be amazing. That would be incredible if I could do that. And then step two is, you need the guts to actually try to take a step forward. And for most people, that's so scary. It's scary to say it out loud. And most of the time, I'll tell you the truth, in my experience, life isn't always on your side. You're like, this is my dream, and people will quickly be like, that's ridiculous. Or, this is what I'm going to do, and they're like, oh, that won't work. Or,
Yeah.
hey, this is I'm going to go after it. I'm going to try this. It's my turn. Now is my moment. I believe it's possible. It's possible for me. I'm going to do it. And you have these core beliefs set up right, and you try. And right when you start trying, someone you love leans over and goes, remember last time? Like, come on. Why are you swiping the legs out from under me? That's what it feels like. And so the second piece is you clarity on what you want. You start making progress, but you need a compelling purpose. You need a
Yeah.
reason why you're doing it, a reason bigger than you, a reason worth fighting for, a reason worth loving for, a reason worth trying for, a reason that keeps you going when everything seems like it ain't working. And all of a sudden, you have clarity, you have progress, you have that purpose. Now you need resilience. Because, like I just mentioned, life people are going to repetitively tell you, no, it's not working out. You're going to wake up some days and be like, is this worth it? Does this even have a chance of really doing what I think it could? And in those moments, what is your resilience practice? What are the things you do to help keep yourself resilient? That's what
Mhm.
we're going to focus on today. What can you do to stay resilient? What can you do to mentally, emotionally, physically stay at the best version of yourself? I nailed down 5 things. 1, practice mindfulness. Practicing meditation improves your ability. Where a friend of mine taught me this, she said, after 10 weeks of this specific meditation practice that we use in breath work, it's like someone puts up a mental and emotional force field around you where the things that used to sting or hurt or frustrate you or overwhelm you or cause anxiety or cause you to freak out, they can't even reach you anymore. They're still coming at you, but they're not able to actually hit you in any way like they used to. And I was like, wow, that's really powerful. So the ability to do that breath work and meditation practice to create that force field that defends you as you're moving forward. 2, developing a support system, building strong relationships and community of people who have your back. We all need those relentless people who every time we come back, they go, don't worry, it's going to work next time. Let's go. What did you learn? What can you do better? How are you going to do it? Like, we need someone who has our back. And what I've
Can we just
noticed is there's so many people in the world, truthfully, who don't feel like anyone has their back. And I always feel for those people because they feel like the people they grew up with or their friends or their family, like they're the alien in their family. They're the black sheep. They're the outlier. Like, no one understands them. No one gets them. They're the crazy one who's trying to do this big thing. And they feel so isolated and alone. And it's like, you need community. You need people who relentlessly have your back. So mindfulness, developing that support system. I have
can
3
we
more.
stop for a second?
What were you going to say about?
You glossed over something so powerful a little too fast. So I just want to go back to highlight this for people. One thing we say in Performance Coach University is there's no such thing as failure, there's only feedback. And that's from you. You're really good at driving that in. And with that, Jarek just shared 3 questions that I think are incredibly important to help with that mindset of seeing these setbacks, these, when you miss the mark or the target. What are 3 questions you can ask yourself to make sure you get up and you do it better next time? Do you want to go back to those questions? Do you know what I'm talking about? What went well?
Yeah,
Those questions. Can you share them again?
sure. What worked is always the first question because our brain, and I'll tell you a story real quick. I remember I was playing pickup basketball and there was this guy named Andrew that I used to play with in college, and he was 6'5", incredible basketball player, super talented, just amazing human being, a lot of fun to hang out with. Like, he could dunk and block and shoot threes, and he did all the stuff. And he was on the team and then he was off the team. And the reason he was off the team was because of the coaching style of one of the coaches. They were a yelling and screaming and what the F are you doing? And what's wrong with you? Show up, try harder. And that
Yeah.
was not his style. He didn't like being yelled at. He didn't like people being like that. If you want him to do better, just tell him, hey, try harder, run faster, do this. Like, he's a very logical person who likes to be communicated with, not yelled at. And so because their styles didn't match, he dropped off the team. He's like, it ain't for me. And I was like, man, this guy would have had a shot at the NBA if he would have found a way to be more resilient in conversation, dealing with a coach that wasn't the right fit for him. That's interesting. Or if the coach would have had a different approach on how to manage different players instead of thinking one size fits all. Either way, I was really sad that he fell off. But him and I used to play pickup basketball together. And I remember one specific game where we went out there and we played really hard, but we had some other guys who were also on the team come out and play. And we won by like 1 point, and he scored 90% of the points. I remember I got a couple rebounds, and I missed the shot. It was really important. I remember I accidentally lost the ball. Someone stole it from me, and I did a bad pass. And I got done with the game. I was so frustrated. Even though we won, I was really frustrated. And we got in the car to drive back down to the dorm room. I remember talking to him, and he goes, "How do you think you did?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I missed that pass, and I missed that shot, and I lost the ball. And God, like, that was such a bad game." And he looked at me, and I remember him, I said, "How do you think I did?" Because he looked at me like I was crazy when I said that out loud. And he said, "Dude, you made one of the most important shots of the game. And that rebound you got when you dished it out to me and I hit the game winning shot, I wouldn't have been able to do that without you. And your defense was on point."
Mm,
And I remember sitting there thinking, like, is he talking? It's only us in the car, but I feel like he's talking to someone else. Like, I don't feel like that's the game I just played. And I
yeah.
realized how quickly our mind, how quickly our brain can point out what's wrong with us. And I had a case of the what's wrong with me is going on in my head. And it was just clearly pointing out every flaw that existed during that one game. When I had a guy sitting next to me who was able to so clearly and so quickly identify everything that I did right. And he's like, "Sure, you missed a shot or two. Sure, you messed up. But hey, look at everything you did right." And I
Mhm.
realized for most people, when we get done doing an activity, oftentimes we so quickly point out what's wrong with it instead of what's right with it. And so to build the muscle, I remember this quote my dad said. He said, "You don't experience life, you experience the parts of life you choose to focus on."
True.
And so often, if you watch people, they can have an incredible life,
Mhm.
incredible family, incredible health, incredible job and career and family and love and all this stuff. And they focus on the one thing that's not working in their life and they feel like shit all the time. Yeah, what the
Who
hell's going on?
knows someone like that?
What's going on with them? That's
Yeah.
wild. Versus, someone could have an incredibly challenging life where everything seems to be going the wrong way. I have a friend I help out who lives in Uganda and takes care of a bunch of young kids who lost their parents early in life. And he texted me the other day, and one of his little guys fell off the back of a bike and had this giant gash in his head and this giant gash in his leg. And he says, I'm so scared right now. I used every penny I had to get the x-rays, but the doctor said they can't operate on him unless we have the funds to cover the operation. I really don't want to lose my little guy here. Could you please help? And I said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." He says, "Don't be sorry. It's a blessing that he's still alive." And I was like, "Wow, it sounds such challenging." He's like, "It is challenging, but what an opportunity it is to have a chance to spend another day with him." I'm like, this guy, first off, is a really challenging life that he's living. He's in an extremely bad situation. And even though I keep saying, "I'm sorry, this sounds tough and it's challenging," he keeps pointing out what's right and beautiful and a blessing and abundant. I'm like, man, look at that psychology. I love this guy. That's why I want to help him so much. Is it's like, wow, he really finds what's great with the situation, regardless of how challenging it is. And sometimes that's the only thing that'll get you through is a piece of life like that. And so that piece of, can we train our brains to find out what we did right? Number one, what worked? Second part, can we then, once we've found out what we did right and gathered that evidence and gathered that information, can we then identify what could be a little better? Where can we improve? What could be 2 millimeters better? What could be 2% improved in the next round? How could I get 5% better? What could I practice? Where can I improve? And so that second question, what could I have done better? What could improve? And then the third one is, um, what worked, what didn't, how will I improve?
Or what will you do different next time?
What will you do different? How will you approach it differently? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, the definition for insanity. It doesn't work. So you have to change your approach. And you're either going to change your approach and improve or change your approach and get worse. Either way, you'll learn. And as soon as you learn, you go out and try it again. And so it's this practice, the practice of using those questions to constantly be keeping your mind focused on your path forward. And the goal with those questions is to create progress. Can you create progress? Can you celebrate what works? Can you learn from what didn't? Can you come up with a plan of how you're going to improve? And if you repetitively use that, you'll continually make progress. And so, number one is practicing mindfulness. Number two is developing a support system. I think one of the most important things that I've heard this, even from people in the industry, coaches, people who've been coaching for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, they're hungry to find a peer group. They want to be surrounded by other humans who are also learning and practicing and applying and using these types of tools in their life. These types of tools can become a catalyst to absolutely transform someone's life for the better. But oftentimes they end up feeling in the beginning kind of like an alien in their own hometown, because all of a sudden they're doing these different things and everyone's like, what are you doing that for? Well, come on, you really think it's going to work? Like no one has their back. No one's supporting them. No one's that relentless friend that's like, you can do it. Keep going. Keep trying. Yeah, you didn't work the first time, but try it again. Like no
Well,
one leader that
why
really
do they
has
do
their
that? Why do you think people do that?
most of the time as an excuse to not have to try themselves. Because if we're friends and you go after your life dream and your life dream comes true, now I have to look in the mirror and say, why hasn't mine come true? But if I can convince you to not go after yours, well, shoot, then I don't have to go after mine. And I can just sit still and say, yeah, life's tough for us, huh?
This
And I
is
don't have to
just
try.
the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it is scary when someone's standing right next to you who looks like you, talks like you've known your whole life, goes after something big and it works. That's scary. And a lot of times the scariest part is two things. One, you don't want to lose your friend because they're your bud. But then the second part of that is at some level you start judging yourself like, hey, they're no different than me. What happened? Why am I not going after it? Jeez. And we kind of get hard on ourselves. One thing I've realized is I look at that with a different. I love meeting people who are no smarter than me, who are not more talented than me, who don't have any special skills or abilities, who've wildly succeeded. Because I train my brain to see them and go, ooh, if they can do it, I can do it. And I'll say this
Yeah.
often. I'll meet people who've done things I dream of doing and go, ooh, they bleed, I bleed, they sneeze, I sneeze, they're human, I'm human. I can do that too. I'm just going to figure it out. All they've done is figured out how to walk that path a little faster than I have, or they got interested in it earlier and they went first. That's fine. They got there. I can get there too. I just have to keep trying.
Okay, real quick, one thing that you're saying without saying is the importance of fostering a growth mindset. And we cover that in Performance Coach University. It is critical to resilience. And that is not dropping into a fixed mindset of this is just the way it is. There's nothing I can do about it. This kind of helpless mentality, this stuckness mentality, but instead cultivating a growth mindset that allows you to tap into the infinite and abundant resources and skill set and creativity and possibility and the inspiration all inside and all around you, right? And that is makes such a huge difference. There's one thing I also want to highlight that I'm super proud of. So just a side note, and if you are interested in this conversation, it's one thing of many brilliant skill sets that we help train people on in Performance Coach University. So if you are interested in that and you do want to cultivate more mental and emotional resilience, both for you, whether it's you and your community or your teams or whatever it is, if you want that for yourself and for others, I invite you to come join us at Performance Coach University. You can go to training.performancecoachuniversity.com/step one. Actually, it's performancecoachuniversity.com/apply. And so that's one thing. Two, one thing that you just shared was those setbacks. When people tell you it's not possible or you can't do it or blah, 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 I've tried it. There's something that we were celebrating this morning on our gratitude walk that was so cool, and it's related to this. It was how there was this big opportunity that we wanted to go after that most people would have to spend at least 10, if not 20 years of their life trying to do. When we said we want to do that thing, we want to do that. Let's try. If they can do it, so can I. And that's a huge difference. Most people are like, oh, but they've taken 20 years. If or I don't have, they're comparing what they're lacking instead of what they have that's similar, right? If they can do it, so can I. I invite you to embody that mindset. And so one thing that came up this morning on our gratitude walk was this opportunity that how many people we got laughed at least 5 times by family, by people within the organization, and so forth. But we just put ourselves out there. We were we I don't know, we were loving and kind and contributing to how we could help the success and support of this endeavor, and said we want to be a part of it. And even despite the laughter that came alongside even saying that, 2 days later, we got a call and they said, let's talk. We'd love for you to be a part of it. Let's go. And we're like, what? Most people would take like, have waited so long for this. And we just put ourselves out there. We're like, we're not going to wait another 20 years to do this. We're not going to do like, let's just see what we can offer to help support them. And that's important too. Like just right there, it wasn't about what we can get. It was what can we give? How can we support? And I think that also when it comes to resilience, and you talked about that at the beginning, where being focused on what it is that you're going after and why is it important. And I would add to that why, to make your why not about you, but to make it about something bigger than yourselves. And that why, that thing that we were going after, was something that will absolutely change so many people's lives for the better. And we're like, that is something that's so in alignment and we want to get behind. We have to like put ourselves out there and be a part of this thing. And that's a game changer. So, what is it that you really want? Why do you want it? Thinking bigger and outside of yourselves. And then how are you going to get it? Keeping in mind the obstacles and the challenges that could get in the way, and how you're going to change that failure mindset into a feedback loop that is what worked, what did we learn, and what will we do different next time? Or, sorry, what worked? What's the second question? Sorry. What worked? What didn't, and what will we do different next time? We have to be honest with what didn't work. I was like skipping past that part. That's important. What didn't work? And then what will we do different next time? What else did you want to add to that? I think you had more points that you wanted to share.
There were 5 points I was going to cover. So, number one was practicing mindfulness, learning how to do the right breath work and meditation. That is a special one we use that like puts up an emotional force field, a mental force field, where you can still see what's going on, but it doesn't slow you down or knock you down. Number two is developing a support system. Community is so important. Having people who are relentless champions and cheerleaders for you, who no matter how hard you get knocked down, they believe in you, they champion you, they challenge you, they cheer for you, they celebrate you, they push you, and they're there for you to help you move through it. Number three is learning from challenges. So those 3 questions we just shared with you, it's every time you face something and you don't get what you want, it's a blessing. There's a lesson in it. So what did you learn? What worked? What didn't? How will you do better? The fourth is prioritizing things that keep you at your best. And this sounds simple, but you would not imagine how many uber, super duper successful people I meet who start to slide off track with sleep quality, eating, staying healthy, going to the gym, working out, eating the right things at the right time. Like you wouldn't imagine when stress starts to build, when momentum starts to pick up, when you're on planes every 2 days because you're busy doing meetings, it's very easy to fall off track and land up eating shit at the airport, or not eating at all, or skipping meals, or missing a workout, or your sleep quality goes down. And you watch people fall apart on doing the things that keep themselves at their best in the moments where it really matters. So have you built the habits, the non-negotiables that you do not miss no matter what, period? You can ask my wife. She teases me. She asks me, how's my vacation? Um,
Ah,
and I see it as a non-negotiable. I have certain things I do every single day, no matter what, to keep myself at my best. And
true.
she'll tease me. She'll wake up with our little one and be with him and come over and see me doing my breathing and then doing my meditation and then doing my workout. And she's like, "Oh, how was your vacation this morning?" And I'll laugh. And
I don't say that for the
that's
morning.
not in a mean way or spiteful in any way. It's a reflection of I wish I could have done that stuff too. Like, I love doing those things. I know how
And it's
important they are. And there's life that jumps in. Life for us is we have a 3.5-year-old little guy who sometimes self-diagnoses a fever or a headache or whatever he's telling us is going on. And we got to love on him and care for him. And luckily, my wife leans in that area and does a lot of that heavy lifting, which creates that space for me to sneak in those non-negotiables. And we're also working on what targets can we hit in our business to make that available for both of us every single day, not just one of us, or back and forth on which one of us gets to access that. But that piece, can you set up the right habits? Can you set up the right systems? Can you set up the right people and processes to create space where you both can be accessing, if you're in a relationship, you both can be accessing your best self? The final one.
Can I add to that real quick, or are we
Sure.
short on time? So there's something that I want to share from a personal experience, something that has come up lately, specific on that topic of
Yep.
I'm seemingly sacrificing some things I would love to do to fill myself up in the morning to take care of our son, right? And what I have learned is that I've learned to protect and defend that area for you, but I haven't done the best of doing that for myself, right? Um, I don't get any extra points for that. I just get to like wear myself down. Like that's the outcome of it. It sucks. So what I realized, and this is what's important, right? So like we learn these tools, that's important, but we must, and then we want to go coach others. But if we're not able to coach ourselves, we are completely out of integrity with coaching, right? And so with that, one thing I noticed was, well, I can't work out because I didn't get the sleep I needed to last night, or he woke up early, or not, you know what I mean? Like, I noticed that I can't statement come up. And luckily, I have conditioned myself over many years of absolutely destroying the word can't in my mind to a point that it would get kind of extreme where if I ever said I can't, then it's like, well, then I must. I didn't get that from your dad. This was just some stubbornness I came up with when I was like 12, where I was like, I don't like the way that feels. I can do anything. And so it was like, if I ever heard can't, I'd literally prove it wrong immediately. And it was like, okay, did I really need to do that? But I'll bring this back. So I want to share this because I'm sure that all of us on occasion, because we're all human, sometimes drop into I can't. And one of the best things you can do in that moment is change that statement to how can I? And so why are you laughing? This is so important to me. Why are you laughing? Oh, yeah, yeah. I didn't say so I think the "I must" definitely is from your dad. For me, it was "I can't," and then I would just seriously prove myself in them. I would never say "I must." I would just make it a point to prove to myself that I could do something. But thank you for the credit. That's really I'm gonna take it and run with it. So anyway, what's interesting is this thing that you're talking about with like our son getting up early and you still doing things. Like I've been kind of very frustrated by it. And it's like, okay, you can be frustrated. Is that helping? You can say I can't work out because he's getting up early. Is that helping? No. Okay, so what are we gonna do about this? We're gonna get out of that mindset into a growth mindset. And that growth mindset starts with changing our language, changing our internal dialogue. And so instead of I can't do X because of all these reasons, timing, situation, whatever it is, list your excuse and then say, okay, given all of this criteria, how can I? Given all this criteria, how can I do it then? So what that looks like now is like, okay, maybe I can't work out in the morning, but I can still work out in the afternoon. Can you come back? I don't like the spotlight like that. And
You just
that
had a
is
moment. I wanted to like bring you in.
well, no, it's important because I just want to acknowledge like it's important that we coach ourselves as coaches. And it's so easy to, in moments of stress or frustration or setback, to forget our tools. But if we just question our thoughts sometimes, and if it is, I can't, for example, go, why can't you? Get all of those reasons down and out of your head. And then go, okay, given this information, how can I? And then you get into the creative thinking process, that growth mindset process, taking your power back instead of, life controlling you. Now you get to get back in the driver's seat and control your outcome and destiny. Jared Robbins, will you please come back? Okay, I'm signing off from
You're
this
having a
live.
moment. You were just like,
Okay, what was
you
point
needed a
5?
full
Okay,
spotlight. You needed to like
I hope
zoom
everyone
in
got
so
that.
people could experience the goodness.
Instead of "I can't," how can you? That's what I want you to take from that. Okay, number 5, and then we are signing off for the day.
Number one, practice mindfulness. Number two, developing that community and support system. Number three, embrace learning from your challenges. Number four, setting up the routines to keep yourself at your best. And number five, um, it goes back to being extremely, extremely clear on what you want. What I found is the reason most people aren't passionately going after something is they're not clear on what they even want. I mean, if you wake up and just ask someone, like, what do you want to do today? I don't know. Where do you want to go eat? I don't know. What do you want to accomplish in the next 10 years? I don't know. Yeah, it's really hard to be passionate, dedicated, motivated, excited, determined, focused. And it's hard to generate all that without extreme clarity on who you want to be, how you want to show up, what difference you want to make, how it's going to feel. When you can start to get so vividly clear on where you're going and why it's important to you, it's amazing the kind of quote unquote inspiration and motivation that shows up for you. And so I'd ask you, if you've watched it this far, one, thanks for hanging out with us. Two, um, in the comment section, leave a comment. What are you most excited to achieve in the next 90 days? One thing that we're doing is fun. We put a cohort of people together, and there's, I think, a couple more spaces. But on Monday, we're going to start with a new group in Performance Coach University, where step one, we're going to help get them certified and trained. And we're ICF and BCC accredited in coaching. So we're going to get them certified and trained as coaches. And then step two, I'm going to move them over to our business program, and I'm going to work with them to build
Yeah.
their coaching practice, which I'm very excited about. Um,
Can I share something really quick?
oh, sure.
I just I just got a text from, you remember Dan Crum from our program? He said, starting in Q4 last year, I became a full-time coach and have been increasing my revenue every month. I finished February over 25K. I'm so excited. So I love this so much. Um, we get the most loving, service oriented, like performance oriented, like people, like just we filter everyone that comes through the program, and we always check in with our heart first. Are you getting in this to serve the greater good? Right? The money will follow, but where's your heart at? What's your focus? Why do you want to become a coach? And I just love stories like that, because he is one of those people that is so dedicated to coaching and to serving others, and to see that happening where he's been able to go from part-time to full-time and have a great financial benefit from it is pretty cool. So I'm pumped for this. You've limited it to 25 people. I want to highlight that. And that's really important. One, because I'm proud of the fact that as much love that we get for this program, we're limited in who we accept in the program, because we don't want you to be lost in a sea of coaches. We pride ourselves on a very handheld, high engagement and supported community, so that you really have that support to be a great coach. It's one thing to learn the tools, it's quite another to be proficient and masterful at the tools. And that's what we're aiming for. Um, you can have all the badges and certificates or whatever, but it means nothing if you're not really great at it. And so we really support you there. And I thought Jarek was crazy when he was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to offer this to 25 people. And I was like, what? People pay $12,000 to be just in that program. And what he's decided was, sorry to cut you off, but that 25 people would have access to that program in addition to PCU, that you're just throwing it in there and supporting them and growing their business, which I think is so true to your heart and your generosity to want to serve others. Like, we can only reach so many people on this planet, and there's 8 billion, and there's a ton of people that want and need the help and support. And so it is an honor and a privilege that we don't take lightly, to be able to train masterful coaches and then put them out, support them in amplifying their message and reaching the people that need it most. And I'm so stoked that you're doing that. I mean, I'm stoked to be a part of it too, but I thought that was super generous of you. And I wanted to just mention it's limited to 25. That's important because that's I don't want to say the pilot right now. It's not a pilot. We've done the business training before. The specific offer that you're doing right now and giving them that extra access is pretty cool. Okay, back to you. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. I know a lot of people have either been interested in coaching or they want to do it, and their uncertainty isn't gaining the tools. The tools are life changing. And so, even going through the training itself, people come out the other side and they're like, wow, I'm happier. I'm healthier. I'm more proficient. My relationships are better. Like, I'm living a better life because I've learned these tools and applied them to myself. Like, wow, this is so cool. And then
Yeah.
they get so excited to want to share them with other people. And often the biggest challenge coaches face when they graduate is 99.9% of the certifications out there, they might give you a few tips on how to grow your business or a few ideas or have you talk about your vision and your why. And we just went through another couple trainings ourselves. And I love going through trainings. I do them repetitively. Amanda had to talk me down from signing up from 3 trainings at the exact same time. And
We do that for each other because we tend
she
to.
was like, 3 is probably too many. She's like,
True.
you're in level 1 of this one
I
and
signed
level
you up
2,
for
and you're
two.
gonna sign up for the private equity one. Like, that's probably too many. Like, just
Yeah.
move that one to May, and
Yeah.
then boom, now you're doing 2 right now, and you'll do 1 then. I'm like, okay. So I love doing trainings. Um,
Yeah.
and the part I love about it is either I'm gonna learn something new or I'm going to relearn something I already know, but I'm going to learn it from this stage of my life. The last
Yeah.
time I went through these foundational tools was 20 years ago. And so, who I was, the capacity I had to understand how these tools work, the reference points I had of what difference they would really make in someone's life, I didn't
Yeah.
have a lot of that compared to now. Now I have
Yeah.
20 years of experience with this. I know what difference that tool makes. I know how people respond to it. I know what works and what doesn't. And to relearn that tool at this stage of life is like, ooh, that's
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah.
Gosh, I forgot that piece. Or wow, that one really does work. I've used it so often. Like, it's neat to rehear it from the beginning, but hear it from this stage of life instead of back then, which is fun. The other piece that's so very important was where people generally trip up, and this is most coaches when they graduate, is they don't know how to get their business off the ground. And so we've had a few people, like I remember we had, I think it was
Gosh,
Jonathan
hold on.
Gehrig. Hold
Real
on one
quick.
second, love. I think
I
it
have
was
to jump off. No, I want you to tell this story, but I have to jump off. So tell this story and then don't forget to tell them about the 1 billion youth, please. Okay. I love
okay.
you. I got to go get Koa.
So real quick, there was a piece of, I think it was Jonathan. I'm trying to remember who it was. It was someone who was in our program. They graduated, and within the first 7 days of graduation, they did better than I even did when I graduated. They did, I think it was $65,000 in sales within their first 7 days. And I remember being like, what? How did they do that? And it turns out this person had been in coaching sales for 2 years. So they had practiced again and again and again and again and again and again and again, but they didn't know how to coach. So they came out of coaching sales with tons of experience selling coaching. We taught them how to coach. And within 7 days of graduation, they had, I think it was like $65,000 worth of coaching already sold. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, that's more than the average coach makes in a year. Most coaches make about 40,000 a year. I'm like, how did you do that in 7 days? And it turns out he had 2 years experience of refining the skill set of selling coaching. And so I looked at that and I'm like, man, I wonder if there's a way to get our other coaches anywhere close to that. And I was like, I don't want to be one of those people who promises the moon and under delivers. I said, okay, what if we set the target as getting your money back? So the course is $7,000. And I said, how many clients would it take to get $7,000 back? So you pay the money, you do the course. How many clients would you need to get your full money back? And I was like, well, most coaches in business and performance coaching, let's say they can charge 500 a month per client. So you need 2 clients. That's $1,000 for 6 months. I was like, man, could I set up a program to help them get 2 clients for 6 months? Or if they have experience, and they can also do coach, mentor, or coach consulting, which we have a lot of people that have come out of like McKinsey or Deloitte, where they have business consulting skill sets. Now they can do consulting and coaching. So they could probably charge $1,000 a month instead of 500. Then they would need one client for 6 months at $1,000. And I was like, could I help them get one client? And I was laughing. I remember when I first started coaching, I went from doing, 2 to 3 clients a month in the beginning to I had a partnership where all of a sudden I signed up 20 clients in a day. And I remember the difference of what happened. And so I was like, why don't I do this? And I told Amanda, and she told me I was crazy, but I was like, why don't I just put these people into our business accelerator, which is $1,000 a month. It's with business owners who are scaling their companies. We have, people in all over the world in the program. Like, why don't I just put them into that program until they earn their original investment back? And I was like, easy peasy. We have over 90 hours of business training all recorded, and we meet live every Tuesday. I was like, done. If someone signs up and they want to be part of this cohort, we'll put them into the first PCU to make sure they get all the coaching skills. Then as soon as they're done there, we'll move them over to the business accelerator, and we'll help them launch their business until they at least get their $6,000 back and they're good, or 7,000, whatever it is. And I was like, that I would feel really, really good about that, because then I know they showed up, they learned the skills, they've bettered their own life, and now they've gotten their full payment back through client work. And if they want to keep going and they want to stay in the accelerator, they're welcome to pay to do so. Or if they have it from there, they can take it and just go build a business. I was like, I'd feel really good about that. I think that'd be fun. And if we do it right, that'll be kind of a process we use to bring them in, train them up, make sure they're efficient, ready to go, put them over here and launch them, get them going, and give them everything they need to really build the business around it as well. Anyway, so if you're interested in that, there was another piece which I sat down and I'm like, that's exciting. I love that concept, but what's the dent we're making in the universe by doing this? And I didn't know. Like, it's fun. We're creating more coaches. We're helping them build their business. We're helping people launch. We're getting them started. All that sounded really cool, but I'm like, what difference is it really making? Helping people be healthier, happier, stronger, more fulfilled. Like, we're bettering the world. But I was like, let's make a dent in like a big problem. So I sat down and I said, what's the problems going on in the world? There's hunger. There's people struggling to get access to clean water. There's people struggling to get access to safe places to live, education. And I was like, education, that's important. And so I sat down and I said, all of us had an experience at some point in our life with a teacher who might have said something to us, knowingly or unknowingly, just, in passing, that caused us to think maybe our dreams aren't really possible. And all of us usually had an experience with a teacher that said something to us, maybe not on purpose, but they just said something that made us think maybe my dreams are possible. Maybe I can go do what I really want to do with my life. And I said, I bet it would be different if teachers in our school systems had access to some of these tools. And I sat down and thought about it. And I'm like, gosh, that would change it. I know my mom used to volunteer as a teacher's assistant, and she would tell the teachers in her class, hey, send me the kids who are struggling, D's and C's, send them over to my table. I'll work with them on their personal identity, limiting beliefs, healthy habits. I'll help get them into this routine, and let's see what happens. And usually within a year to year and a half, she would take a C and D student, turn them into a straight A student. Exceptional transformation. And it came down to using these coaching tools with those students. And I was talking about this, and a friend of ours in our community reached out, who's on the Board of Education in the state of Illinois. And he said, well, wait a second. Let's see if we can create a program around coaching tools for teachers where it can create a measurable difference in how the teacher's performance is rated, in how the school system's performance is rated, and how the principal's performance is rated, and how the student experience is rated. And if we can design this program and test it, and it actually improves the ratings of the teachers, the school itself, the student experience, and the principal's ratings, we've got something. Like, we can transform the educational experience for young people by doing this without having to completely redo the education system. We can help shift it in the right direction by really getting this program the teachers. And I was like, well, what's the big obstacle? And I was like, well, the obstacle is teachers usually don't get paid enough money to access a program like this. And I said, well, here, why don't we just give it to them? Why don't we create a separate condensed program called Coaching Tools for Teachers? We'll design it, we'll test it, we'll fine tune it, we'll get it to really work. And then every time someone signs up to become a coach with us, we will gift the Coaching Tools for Teachers program to a teacher. And we did the math. And I was like, what would be a number that'd be worth going after? And I was like, what if we could reach 1 billion young people? And my brain kind of melted for a second because I'm like, 1 billion young people seems too many. Like, how do you even get to 1 billion? How many is 1 billion? Like, it was messing with my head. And I said, well, wait a second. How many students does the average teacher teach per class? And I think it was 25. And I said, okay, well, 25 per class. That means if we wanted to reach 1 billion young people, we need to get 40 million teachers a copy of this program and get them to actually use it and see the results. I was like, okay, we can do that. Let's do a buy one, give one, that every time someone signs up, we'll gift the Coaching Tools for Teachers program to a teacher. And then as long as it makes that measurable positive impact, we'll start to go find grants and investments and all kinds of stuff to really multiply it. Anyway, so if that's something that's near and dear to your heart, if that's something you find interesting, we'd love to have you, come and join us in this group with Performance Coach University. You just have to go to performancecoachuniversity.com/apply. Come and join us and hopefully help us reach this 1 billion young people every year. I really think we can help nudge the school system in a great way and help increase the teacher ratings, the school's performance, the student experience, and the overall principal rating as well if we do this right. And we'd love your support in the process. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you have a wonderful Friday. It's my wife's birthday this weekend, so we're going to go celebrate her.